The early days of 2020 here in the Tennessee Valley were days of uncertainty as reports of the coronavirus outbreak began to trickle in from cities across our nation. On March the 13th, Hamilton County Mayor Jim Coppinger stood at a podium to announce that the deadly virus had come to Chattanooga.
Hamilton County has been notified of our first case of the COVID-19 virus.
Immediately, life changed here in the Tennessee Valley. Restrictions were put in place both city and county-wide as businesses were forced to pivot in an effort to stay afloat. On July 10th, the first countywide mask mandate was put into place, though some still challenged their place in society.
Life is choices, and with choices are consequences, but that's my consequence to take.
Students were forced to learn in a new way. Teachers taught themselves a new form of delivery. Months later, and far beyond what many of us were hoping or expecting, the fight against COVID-19 continues. A look from above the COVID-19 testing site in December showcases the prevalence of this virus in our daily lives. A day usually marked as a time of faith, forgiveness, and peace turned into a disastrous day across the Tennessee Valley. The National Weather Service determined that 7 tornadoes touched down the Tennessee Valley on Easter Sunday, killing 10 people and causing significant damage. In northwest Georgia, Walker, Murray, and Dade counties all saw devastations as winds of up to 135 miles per hour terrorized communities. Here in Tennessee, Hamilton and Bradley County saw winds of up to 145 miles per hour forever changed the landscape. On the evening of May 25th, a man identified as George Floyd, not yet a household name, was taken to a Minneapolis medical center and pronounced dead. The explosive footage of his death under the knee of Minneapolis officer Derek Chauvin led to community outrage, an FBI civil rights investigation, and the firing and arrest of that officer. Millions of Americans took to the street to protest not only the death of Floyd, but systemic racism, including here in the Tennessee Valley. Protests went on for weeks in Chattanooga's downtown. On Tuesday, October 27th, dozens of students were riding home in their school bus when a utility truck crossed the center line of Highway 58 in Meigs County. The resulting impact sent dozens of school-aged children to area hospitals. We later learned that the bus driver, 53-year-old Lisa Dillard, and 7-year-old Addison Grace Medley lost their lives in that crash. As the calendar turned to November, all eyes turned to the election. Voters across America cast their ballots, some well in advance, others in person. In Georgia, Election Day turned into Election Week, turned into Election Month, as the state flipped party lines for the first time since the '92 election. A Senate runoff race slated for January is still making headlines across the country. Though we may not all be in the same boat together, we are in fact in the same storm. And through the ugliness and the darkness, there are still lights that continue to shine. In 2020, we saw people coming together to stand against injustice. In the face of tragedy, we saw the next generation leading the way. And when a community was faced with seemingly insurmountable challenges, we saw friends and neighbors building each other up. We saw families spending more time with one another during quarantine. And though the crowds weren't quite as large or quite as loud, we saw the celebrations of achievements around our region. Hope for many has come in the form of a new vaccine to fight COVID-19. Hope that we may soon return to a reincarnated Riverbend Festival. Hope that we may soon cheer on the lookouts on a hot summer night. Hope that we may soon gather together with our friends at our favorite local restaurant. We continue to move forward together with hope for a better tomorrow and hope for a better 2021.